Welcome to the next episode of the Dark Web Deacon. Before we begin, be sure to smash that subscribe button, click the bell to turn on notifications. New videos are published every Monday and Thursday, and as always, be sure to like and provide comments. Oh, Marriott, you've done it again. On Tuesday, March 31st, Marriott International disclosed that it suffered a data breach that likely affected more than 5 million customers. This is the second massive breach in 2 years for them. The data breach in 2018 impacted more than 300 million users and contained even more sensitive data than the current breach, things like passports and driver's license. Marriott was fined roughly $123 million by the EU under the GDPR Regulation Act because of that action. According to a press release from Marriott, the breach began in mid-January of 2020 and was discovered at the end of February, per the results of the company's investigation. While the breach isn't nearly as widespread or as devastating as the last one that affected Marriott in 2018, it's still concerning that this breach is affecting millions of their guests, and this seems to be happening at a frequent rate with them. What data was compromised? That's the important question for most of you watching this video. So, name, phone number, email address, mailing address, loyalty account information, some additional personal details such as birth date, gender, any partnerships or affiliations you have that maybe you've linked, such as frequent flyer miles, along with kind of room preferences that you may have and your particular language preference. If there's any silver lining to this, is Marriott says that the Bonvoy passwords, which is basically the branded version of their site, credit cards, driver's license, national IDs, and passports were not affected in this latest breach, according to their most recent investigation. Who is responsible for the breach? Marriott says that it's working with the appropriate authorities regarding the situation, but at this time, no one has claimed ownership, and they haven't pointed the finger to any particular organization, country, or group related to this breach. How can I check if I am part of this breach? Well, they did send out a number of emails for those who were involved, they believe, in the breach. Though if you want to check for yourself, you can do so through a portal that Marriott set up. I will provide the link down in the descriptions. It is a little underwhelming overall, and the URL itself isn't even from a Marriott domain, so it does look a little suspicious, but I have verified, I have checked it out myself, that it is a legitimate link. And that you can enter your information. So basically, when you go into the link, you enter things like your name, your email, along with your Marriott number. They will then send you an email to verify your email address. You'll click on that, and then you will get a message saying that they will get back to you shortly and with a follow-up. And so it took me about 12 hours or so, and then I did receive a follow-up email. You click on that email, and they will verify for sure whether or not you are part of that breach. So I'm a part of this breach, now what? Well, Marriott has come out and said that members who were affected, the hotel chain is going to automatically disable their accounts. So if you are affected by the latest breach, you'll notice that you'll be required to change your Bonvoy account password upon logging in. You'll also be asked to set up two-factor authentication to add a layer of security to your account. What steps, if any, should I take specifically around this breach? So a lot of videos and news articles and the media, every time there's one of these things, they give you the same old advice over and over again. So I'm going to start to change that up. If I were to categorize this breach using the infamous kind of DEFCON levels 1 through 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being, kind of the least level of readiness and concern, I would say this is a DEFCON level 4. And the reason for this is there's no social securities, there's no driver's license, there's no passwords associated with this account that have been stolen. So specifically for this, what you really need to be concerned with is the following. One, don't recycle passwords on your Marriott account if you do go in and change the password, right? So not specific just to Marriott, but don't recycle it from other accounts because there have been so many breaches over the last several years. So create a unique password that's long. This breach did grab phone numbers and emails, so be a little alert and a little suspicious for any type of emails or text messages. There may be a spike in phishing and smishing attacks related to this data directed at you. So just be aware of that. If emails or text messages don't quite look right, even if they're coming from Marriott, be a little bit suspicious because a lot of these hackers have gotten very good at branding and a lot of these phishing and smishing attacks to actually look like it's coming from the company. Check out all of your Marriott and loyalty points associated with this breach. So as it was mentioned, sometimes there's airline frequent flyer miles associated with your Bonvoy account. So log in, take a baseline of all those accounts, how many loyalty points, how many frequent flyer miles you have associated with those. And do this to create that baseline in case you get compromised in the future. Often these points and miles can be stolen and people aren't aware because they really don't diligently track those miles for the most part, unlike your bank account. So they're an easy target. And then finally, in terms of so that's specific to this breach, but in terms of general identity protection advice, so many of you have heard kind of a lot of the general statements about passwords and credit reports. I have a 10-point identity theft protection checklist that I'll go over with you now, and that'll hopefully help in preparation to at least mitigate future data breaches against your identity.
There are a lot of both free and paid services available to prevent or mitigate identity fraud. Please check out my previous video, Free Identity Theft Protection Advice in Dark Web 101, and I go into really specific detail on this topic. However, my quick 10-point checklist on ID theft protection is as follows. 1. Make a list of all your online accounts and categorize to help prioritize accounts to secure first. So think about creating a checklist of your financial accounts, your social media accounts, and your entertainment accounts. Number 2. Make an offline list on paper of all your accounts and passwords and store in a secure location. Number 3, get your yearly free credit report from all 3 credit bureaus to get a baseline on your credit history. Tip number 4, leverage free dark web scans of emails, SSNs, and phone numbers that are available from several vendors. Tip number 5, if you do have kids, freeze your child's credit file if they're under the age of 16 across all 3 credit bureaus. Number 6, lock your credit file in at least 1 bureau with online services. 3 is ideal, and they are mostly free, but unfortunately they're not coordinated, so you can't just do it with 1 bureau and expect your credit file to be locked across all 3. You kind of need to you'd have to manually do it across all 3. So I recommend at least doing it on one of them, and chances are that'll at least help mitigate. Number 7, make sure your home Wi-Fi network requires a password to access it. Number 8, have a fake email and random password for non-essential online accounts you create. So, for example, if you're using, Ryanair or Pottery Barn or, gardening.com or whatever are the kind of non-essential vendors you work with, use a separate email that's separate from your main email that's tied to things like your financial accounts. There is the Google Password Checkup extension. If you are using Chrome, it is built into the newer versions of Chrome, but if you are using an older version, check out Google Password Checkup extension. What that will do is when you are using the Chrome browser and logging into different websites, it will check if your account and password combination have been potentially part of previous breaches, and then recommend you change it. And then number 10, use 2-factor authentication 2FA as it's called, on all important accounts if they exist. So with two-factor, what you do is you need both a password, and also you'll receive a text message with a PIN to log into accounts. So definitely do this for your financial accounts and more other services, whether that are starting to offer this type of login. So if it is available, make sure you enable it and leverage it. Thanks for watching, and as always, please like, subscribe, and provide comments, and turn on notifications by clicking the bell in order to check out future videos published twice a week.